I hope that you are gathering valuable strategies to help you succeed at behavior change as we work through potential obstacles. Forgetfulness. Really? Now that seems like a flimsy excuse. Well, surprisingly, research verifies that our intentions are only loosely predictive of our behaviors. Isn't this just a matter of not prioritizing our behaviors? Well, not exactly. This is interesting, so I hope you remember. In 1855, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus found that we forget nearly half of the information we learned within 20 minutes. After 24 hours, about 70% is gone, and a month later, we have lost about 80%. Yikes! Thank goodness for recorded lectures. Think back to habits. Our brain identifies shortcuts that we don't have to think about, which is helpful when we are trying to get out the door in the morning, but not so much when we have something out of the ordinary on our schedules that isn't our normal routine. We have all done it. We think over and over again, I have to be somewhere on a specific date at a specific time, and when the time comes, we simply forget. I will never forget the time I stood up a colleague for lunch. It was long before mobile phones, so she couldn't even reach out to ask where I was. I didn't remember until a few days later. So how can we avoid forgetting important things? This may seem pretty obvious, but research shows that reminders can help us remember by about 8%, and they work about 25% better when we react on them immediately. Most of us get text reminders from our doctors reminding us of upcoming appointments. I have one particular healthcare provider who sends a text message 10 days ahead of my scheduled appointment. I always laugh when I get the text because there is no way that this text is going to help me remember to show up. It does, however, remind me to check to make sure that I don't have any conflicts and that my appointment is in my calendar. The same provider does also send a reminder 2 hours before my scheduled appointment, which alerts me to begin to finish what I am working on so that I can arrive on time. If you are going to set a reminder for yourself, make it as close as possible to the time that you need to act. Our technology makes it so easy to set timely reminders. Most of us have our phones with us 24/7, and alerts are pretty easy to set up. I have had students set up reminders on their phone to drink more water, to meditate, and to use the function to shut their phone down at a certain time to stop gaming or scrolling through social media. I have also used it to set alerts every 2 hours on the beach to remember to reapply sunscreen. One thing that I want to remember are special dates like birthdays and anniversaries. I have them set to recur every year in my phone so that I don't miss any. My one friend misses her anniversary every year. Her husband comes home with fun surprises, and she is caught with her hands empty. I have set a reminder for me to send her a text a week in advance. Just be careful not to overdo it with reminders. Then we can risk ignoring or overlooking them. You can also use some technology-free techniques if you prefer. What about sticky notes? They come in all colors and sizes. You can even find different shapes to add some fun. You do have to be strategic about where you place them so that they are timely. Here are some thoughts. How about on the refrigerator or snack cupboard to remind you to eat healthy snacks? On the dashboard of your car to remind you to buckle up? On your computer to remind you to complete an assignment? Or on your bedside table to remind you to meditate before bed? This is really going back, but it is my mother's preferred method, the good old-fashioned wall calendar. Well, this can be a fun option for those of you who are visual or like to doodle. It does fall short on timely, unless you are very disciplined and look at it at specific times throughout the day. Maybe this is why my mother misses some of her activities. Let's think back once again to our behavior change theories and models and the construct cues to action, which are triggers that cause behaviors. One trigger that stands out for me is when I was often traveling for work and spotting an upcoming rest stop on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I would stop and get a soft pretzel and a chai tea, whether I was hungry or not. To this day, I still want to make that stop. When we are setting our goals, we focus on what we intend to do. To increase the likelihood that we will follow through with our intended behavior, link it with a cue, such as a specific time, place, or action. Katie Milkman suggests filling in the blanks in this sentence. When blank happens, I'll do blank. Let's practice. The goal of I'm going to start saving money is missing the cue to action. When I get paid on Fridays, I will put 10% in my savings account, adds a trigger to your intention. What can you add to I'm going to walk more to make it more actionable? How about this? I will walk each day during my morning break at work. To make it even more specific, I can say, beginning on Monday, I will walk for 15 minutes each day during my morning break at work. People who create cue-based plans are much more likely to achieve their goal, and the more specific the plan, the better. We put a lot of time and effort into crafting very specific plans, which is in line with the research on memory. The more we engage with the information, the longer we remember it. Let's call this a SMART goal with a twist. When creating our cue-based plan, consider the how, when, and where, and then add a cue to action. And when you can, choose a cue that is out of the ordinary. The more vivid, catchy, and memorable the cue, the more effective it will be. The world is simply too complicated, and many feel overwhelmed by everything that seems to be required to lead a healthy lifestyle. In your efforts to make positive change, be careful not to complicate your plan. Just by creating a plan, we are breaking our goal into smaller, more manageable tasks, which helps us to stay motivated. Visualizing our future once we have met our goal can be exciting and may encourage us to take in additional goals. Try to keep it simple and work on only 1 or 2 goals at a time. Checklists are also an effective way to keep it manageable. People often minimize a problem or tell themselves that their behaviors are better than they really are. We tend to overestimate the calories we burn through physical activity and underestimate the calories that we consume. Perhaps we do this to justify our actions or lack thereof. Our tendency, of course, is to take the path of least resistance, which can have its benefits. Laziness goes hand in hand with habits and our brain's effort to create shortcuts to be more efficient. Default settings on our phones and computers save us from the torture of setting up every detail, and many of us stick with the default settings. One way to tackle laziness is to change the default. Many years ago, when my daughter was young, I had a basket of healthy snacks that she could grab after school when she needed one. I changed the default by eliminating the high-calorie and high-sugar snacks that she had access to. Another thing that I did was to not even buy foods that were not in my diet. So my only options were to eat healthier options. You can change your browser's homepage to your email or school landing page instead of Facebook or a search engine to keep you from being distracted while working. Unfortunately, there are some behaviors where you just can't set a smart default. When we talked about habits, we learned that if we want to create a new habit, we need to repeat the behavior over and over in a consistent environment. However, we want to maintain some flexibility and try to practice our behavior even when the circumstances are not perfect. Being too rigid can thwart your efforts. Tracking your behaviors is a valuable tool to help you develop new habits. Logging your behaviors can help you assess your current behavior, track your progress, hold yourself accountable, identify patterns, and determine your success. I personally keep a monthly tally of the miles that I walk, bike, or hike so that I can compare my miles to previous years and set goals. Similar to timely reminders, there are a lot of tools available to help us track our progress, from low to high tech. There are many mobile apps that help you to track any behavior from exercise to meditation and financial savings. Wearable devices are a fun way to get moving and track your heart rate and sleep patterns. Or you can go low tech with paper logs. Make it as simple or complex as you like and use what works best for you. You can find several options in the Behavior Change Toolbox. One last strategy that may work to help you overcome laziness is to link what you hope to start doing regularly with what you are already doing regularly. If you watch a news show every morning before you head out for the day, can you add in a few yoga moves? As part of your bedtime routine, can you add meditation or writing in a gratitude journal after you brush your teeth? We can all get sidetracked by laziness. Maybe you can find just one strategy here that will work for you. Okay, laziness is not driving this, but I could take a break right about now. And that swing does look pretty inviting. A few minutes outside may do the trick.